just going back to the resilience for kids, they have to go through it. They have to go through the process in order to get a sense that they are capable of overcoming difficulties. And they cannot do that if they do not feel autonomous. And if we, if in the process of supporting, we take on the struggle ourselves, we will consciously or subconsciously pave the way for them to walk after us, rather than supporting them and letting them walk through it themselves. And that kind of brings me to a third thing that we have to do, is this finding that kids do not need pushing, they need structure. So I smiled at this one because it brings me, it kind of reminded me of the key skill that we already talked about in Grounded Parents, and that is boundaries. So if you haven't watched already, have a look in our learning units and find the tea talk around boundaries, because that is what this is about. Putting a structure is putting boundaries. And the structure for kids, so kids need a structure to succeed. And the structure, the way they defined in the article, is really the rules and the support system that we put in place to enable our kids to succeed. And that is, that includes expectations, that includes talking about, co-creating the rules of, how do they show up in order to achieve that success. And of course, it includes consequences, talking about consequences, what happens when they do not show up in order to achieve the success that they want. So it is very much about boundaries, and it is something that it comes up over and over again, not just in parenting, in sort of everyday life as well. So what watch the tea talk, but just here I would like to say, you need to be aware. The personal work here is to become aware of your attitude to setting boundaries. Is this comfortable? This not comfortable for you? How do you like to do it? Just kind of think about it from your own personal perspective. What's your attitude? What works? What doesn't work? Where do you struggle? And then kind of do the personal work you need to do in order to acquire that skill. The fourth thing that we have to do is to understand that we live in a society that thrives on scarcity. So what I mean by that is that in today's world, there's not enough of anything. There's not enough of good education, not enough of jobs, not enough of good future for our kids, etc. And obviously when these messages of scarcity are linked to our kids and are put to us as this is going to affect the future of your child, it is not surprising that we go berserk, that we go into protect and control and make sure that that everything is done so that they avoid that fate. Now, scarcity is something that in any part of our life we have to be aware of, and we need to be constructive about it. And personally, I very much try and go against that thinking, and replace that thinking with the thinking about abundance, because I think it serves me well, and I operate from that place much better than when I operate from fear. And I think it's very much the truth for anyone I know. So what I in this one, in terms of the personal work, is really becoming aware of what provokes scarcity in you around your parenting and your children. What do you fear most? I think this is such a powerful question. what do you fear most? And then the other piece is kind of more practical, and it's kind of more, you know, in our environment, is to really look around and identify people in your environment who are fearmongers. And I don't know about you, but I have certainly been in situations where you find yourself in a conversation or in a group that is, you know, it's all about gloom and doom about a particular issue, okay? And you come out of it and you think, you know, you came into that conversation kind of not being aware that there is a problem. And then you come out and you think, oh my God, you know, I haven't seen that. You know, what is going to happen? What is going to happen to my child? And, you know, I hope you know what I'm thinking, you know, what I'm talking about here. I have experienced it, and it takes a while. Sometimes it takes a conversation with my husband. Sometimes it takes kind of like, you know, shaking my head and kind of going, wow, what happened? And just asking myself, you know, what do I think about it? What do I think? So you know, people, different people will do different things for their children because they think that that's what's useful for them. And it's always a good thing to be mindful, to you know, to recognize when some, you know, conversation with somebody stirs something in you, and you know, and that's your clue to kind of stop and think, okay, she or he or they are doing that for their child. What do I think about it? Do I actually want to do it? Do I think it would be beneficial for my child, etc.? Rather than kind of going into a panic mode and do things that might not be in line with who you are and what do you believe. Now, the fifth one is, and the final one is this notion that kids need to see their parents struggle. This is kind of an obvious one, because kids learn much more by observing us than by being preached at or talked to. The same as everyone else, I think. And we've identified two things that can get in the way of us modeling this. So the first one is perfectionism, and again, this is a topic. This is something that definitely shows up in my life, shows up in Terry's life. It's something that we already talked in Tuesday Tea Talk, so please go and watch that. It is something Terry and I have worked individually. So it's so important for us. We really believe that this is a big thing, and we have spent now time coaching each other, trying to understand how does that show up in our life, and how can we work through this, and we hope to bring this to you, this work to you, and help you do the same. So watch this space on that one. We have defined perfectionism as the excessive need to be in control, coupled with a desire to or worry about what other people think. Given the definition, I think it's fairly obvious that if you as a parent, we are trying to perfect and perform, and when we are trying to do something new, or we are putting a party together, or whatever we are doing, if our focus is on what will others think, and how do I control the outcome of this, and failure is not an option, that is very much going to be that will come in our way of giving our kids permission to fail. Because if perfectionism is present in your life, the way you react, the way you manage the stress of doing something will speak much louder than anything you say about failure and any permission you give. And the second thing is our attitude to vulnerability. Because to share struggle, to admit that you have struggle, or that you have struggled in the past very much depends on vulnerability. And vulnerability is about showing your underbelly to somebody with a name to connect. So in this one, one thing that, you know, as I kind of thought about it, I also had to kind of make it clear for myself, and I want to share it with you, that does not mean that we share our raw struggle. And that is true for our kids, but it's also true, you know, for people we lead in teams, organizations, wherever you're doing it. You do not, vulnerability is not about being, you know, processing your raw struggle with anyone. Okay, you know, as parents, we need to have a space where we can process the struggle, and then what we are sharing, the sharing with kids, is the appropriate sharing of something that is meaningful to them, but not going to scare them, you know, witless. So I think that is an important distinction to make. I think the personal work that you could be thinking about is really understand whether perfectionism shows up in your life. Maybe do a little scale of, you know, how strong is it, you know, 1 to 10, 10 being like, you know, I totally constantly think about and worry about what other people think, and I need to control everything. So that would be a 10. And then 1 would be not like, you know, I don't care, but it's more about, you know, I respect that everybody has their own opinion, but the opinions of other people, that, you know, does not define and my actions and activities. So that's in terms of perfectionism. If perfectionism is something you want to work on, hopefully we'll definitely be putting some more content around that. But, you know, reach out to us and we'll suggest some reading or, you know, some resources in the meantime. And in terms of vulnerability, it is good to just, you know, ask yourself the same way as fear. You know, vulnerability is, and then just write down, I grew up believing that vulnerability is da 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 da. And most importantly, what do you think about vulnerability? What place vulnerability plays in parenting? Do you think that parents should be vulnerable? And defining that is, you know, being just, you know, not mindful, being clear about that is really important. So the final note around this resilience is something that is not part of the how-to list. It's something that is, I think, much greater and much more important than all of this. And that is to understand that at the same time that we are teachers of resilience, we are also students of it. Because, you know, I know for me, for all my, you know, for all the people I work with, all my friends, the ability to overcome obstacles in life is something that we continuously learn and improve and get wrong and do it again. So when we are stepping into that support role for our kids, it is really important to tap into that experience of being a student, so that we can tap into our empathy, because empathy is our ticket to connection. And I think parenting, you know, all those skills that we are doing and developing and helping our kids to develop, it is fine. But I think the overarching theme of what we are trying to do is to connect. Good luck, and let us know how this plays out in your life. What areas of these, you know, out of these 5 points, which one do you resonate the most with? Which one do you feel that you are gonna dig in deeper and do some personal work? And just let us know, was it useful? And let us know how you get on. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye.